Hey guys, it's Rashab, and as promised in my last video, I'm bringing you my first episode recap of Game of Thrones. So, mind you, this is an episode recap, so there will be spoilers. So, if you haven't seen the episode, watch the episode and then watch this video. And if you have seen the episode, or if you just don't care, then I guess just keep watching. So yeah, that's a fair spoiler warning. I assume if you're still here, you either seen it or you don't care. So I'm gonna get right into it. Um, so there were a lot of different storylines in this as usual. So they had Daenerys, they had Bran, they had Sansa and Jon, and yeah, I think that was it. I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, and they had Tyrion and Marine. So I'm gonna start in order because I feel like that would be better, and especially the way the last episode ended. I feel like it'd be best to save that topic for the end. So basically, we start off with Sansa. It shows that she's knitting something. We find out later that it's a wolfskin coat, the same like similar to the one Ned Stark wore when back in season 1. So she made it for Jon, and I guess that's like a symbol of like authority and power in the North, especially in the Stark family. So I thought that was really cool for her. But anyway, it starts out, she receives a letter from Littlefinger, and he's basically saying, "Meet me at Moletown. I need to talk to you, right?" And we find out that he's here to tell her that the Knights of the Vale are there to support her in her fight against Ramsay. So, but you can see Sansa's not having any of it. She doesn't trust him, especially since he was the one who gave her over to the Boltons. And she basically tells him, "Do you know what Ramsay did to me? I can still feel it now, and not just metaphorically. I can literally still feel the pain that he inflicted on me." And you can tell that Littlefinger, she no longer trusts him. But in the end, she accepts his help and says, "It's basically like, I'll accept your help, but I'm also keeping a close eye on you." And it was good to see that because it shows a bit of character development on her. Because back in season 1, Sansa, she wasn't really that smart of a character. She was too trustworthy, and she ended up paying the price, as we saw when she trusted Joffrey and the Lannisters. She ended up losing most of her family because of them. Her father, her mother, her brother, like she lost almost everyone, right? So it shows that even now, even back in season 5, she trusted Littlefinger, and she ended up being handed over to Ramsay, which wasn't a pleasant experience for her. So it shows that she's not fully trusting of anyone. She makes her own decisions now, and I had a feeling that Littlefinger might die because Sansa was like, you have no help here, and if I get Brienne to kill you, there's no way you can defend yourself." So I thought, okay, maybe is this the episode where Littlefinger dies? But as usual, he manages to talk his way out of it. And something I found interesting later on, and even Brienne mentions it when she's with Jon and they're talking about the different ways they'll have to take down Ramsay because Ramsay's army outnumbers them 3-1. And so they're trying to get all the help they can get, right? And then she tells him, "Oh, the Knights of the Vale are going to fight for us." And when he asks, "How do you know they're going to fight for us?" she says, "I received a letter before I escaped Winterfell." So she doesn't tell him the truth, and even Brienne is like, "Why did you tell him the truth?" But she doesn't respond to that. So I'm not sure why she didn't tell him the truth. Maybe because Jon wouldn't approve of Littlefinger. He probably does. I mean, I don't think he knows who Littlefinger is, but I don't know. But yeah, I don't know why she doesn't tell him, and maybe we'll find out later. Maybe we won't. But yeah, basically now Jon and Sansa they're heading south towards Winterfell to fight Ramsay and hopefully take it back. And yeah, so it'll be cool to see that story play out. It's actually one of my second favorite storyline this season so far, Jon and Sansa. So then we head over to Arya, who's still training to become a faceless man, and it shows like last episode 4, she got her eyes back, so now she's continuing her training. And I actually made a joke, like the way she's training, it reminded me of Daredevil. So I thought that maybe she'd become like a Daredevil of Westeros, especially since she was blind, right? But since she got her eyes back, and I feel like she's gotten worse at fighting with having her eyes back than she did when she didn't have her eyes back, because the person she was fighting now, she thrashed her. Arya beat her hard last time she was blind, and now she's got her eyes back. she no longer can beat her, or maybe the other person's holding back last time. Either way, Jaqen H'ghar, he sends her to a play that's happening in Bravos and says, we've been hired to kill this one person, so you need to poison her. So when we watch the play, it turns out they're reenacting basically the King's Landing story of season 1, where it shows Robert Baratheon, he goes hunting and he gets killed by the wild boar, and then Ned Stark, but what they don't know is that Ned Stark was actually doing the right thing, but the way the play reenacts it looks like he's a usurper and he's just trying to take over the throne for himself, and they basically reenact that whole thing while making fun of it at all. And Arya, she doesn't appreciate it because that was her family. And I feel like Jaqen purposely sent her to that play as a test for her, because if she wants to become a faceless man, and the faceless man, they detach themselves from everything, all feelings, family, past, present, future. They strip themselves of all their desires and give themselves completely over to the faceless god. So I feel like this was a test for her in a way, to see that if she's still like feeling anything towards her old family, or if she's ready to become a faceless man. And it shows that at first she's angry, but she doesn't mention it to him. But I feel like he knows, and even he says, you might not be ready to join us. So it'd be interesting to see if Arya, especially if she ever reunites with Jon or Sansa or any of the other Starks, if she chooses them or if she chooses to stay with the faceless men. So that would be cool to see. And then we head over to Tyrion and Meereen, and it shows that the deal he made with the Masters last time is working out fine so far. The Sons of the Harpy have no longer been attacking anyone. Violence in the city has gone down to 0 pretty much, and but he feels that's not enough. So he hires the help of a Red Priestess, and they mention her name, I didn't catch it, but I'm just gonna call her Red Priestess number 2 because Melisandre was the first Red Priestess we saw on the show. So he basically hires her because the people in Meereen, they worship the Lord of Light. So he's like, look, we need your help. We need you to spread the word that Daenerys is behind all this, even though she's not here, because the people need to know that their queen is actually getting stuff done and it's not just some foreign help that's doing all this. And then it looks like everything's going well, but then Varys, he starts like, I guess, I don't know what the right word, but he starts like acting like all angry towards her and like talking with a lot of venom towards her. And at first we're not sure what's going on, but then she mentions the fact that so you know how Varys is a eunuch? So it turns out that a sorcerer had used it, and that sorcerer had cut off his parts for a ritual, and that sorcerer was worshipping the Lord of Light. So Varys isn't especially keen towards religion, as we saw, but then now it's especially more so sent towards the Lord of Light and Red Priestesses and all, since they're the ones who, like, I guess, cut off his parts and sacrificed it, right? So, but she also says that when the ritual was happening, Varys apparently heard a voice calling out from the flames, and it was like a demonic voice or something. And then even Varys looks uncomfortable, like that actually happened, and more so, how does she know this? So she's like, do you want me to tell you what he says? But he said, and he just gives her a look, and she doesn't say it, but I like that quote that she said. She's like, knowledge has made you powerful, but there's so much you don't know. And that's actually like a pretty cool quote, because Varys, one of the reasons like he's as powerful as he is because of knowledge. He has spies all over the place, and basically he knows everything, and then he uses that knowledge to gain power over others. So apparently there's a lot he doesn't know, especially concerning religion and the Lord of Light. So yeah, that's basically how that ends. The Daenerys storyline, there wasn't that much this time. It basically shows that she finds out Jorah has grayscale, and she basically says, go find the cure and then come back to me, and that's basically it. She departs with her Dothraki army, and then I guess Jorah goes off to find the cure. Now the storyline I'm sure you guys have all been waiting for me to talk about, and probably my favorite storyline this season, Bran. So yeah, Bran, he's still like going into the past, learning about the past, and this time we find out that the children actually created the White Walkers. So it shows that they have this one guy tied up to a tree, and they like put something in his body, and then at first it looks like they're gonna kill him, but then they get a close up of his face, and you see that his eyes are turning blue, and that his skin is turning white, and then you realize, oh my God, that's the Night's King, who's like a leader of the White Walkers, right? So we find out the children created the White Walkers. And then Bran, he goes to another vision by himself, and it shows like the White Walker army, and he's just walking, he sees the Night's King, right? And then, even though this is a vision, for whatever reason, the Night's King notices him, and the other White Walkers start noticing him. And then there's doing this 360 shot where it shows all the White Walkers just turning towards him, even though it's a vision. And then Night's King grabs him, and somehow he leaves a mark on Bran in the real world. So, and that's how the White Walkers find him, and then they start attacking the tree. And so basically now Bran, Mira, and Hodor, they all have to escape, right? Because Bran has a role to play in the war against the White Walkers, so they need him alive. So then basically the others, they sacrifice themselves. Like even Three-Eyed Raven dies, Night's King kills him. The children, they die as protecting him. Even Bran's direwolf, Summer, he ends up sacrificing himself to protect Bran. And then just when it looks like all three of the Hodor, Mira, and Bran might all escape, the White Walkers just start rushing him. And if they get out into the open, there's no way Bran and Mira and Hodor are going to survive, because Mira is carrying Bran. Since Bran is crippled, he can't walk, so Mira is carrying Bran on a sled, and then she can't carry Bran and protect him from the whole army of the White Walkers at the same time. So she tells Hodor to hold the door, because Hodor is pretty strong. He's part giant, so they tell him to hold the door so that it gives Bran and Mira enough time to escape. And that's when like the really cool stuff happens in this episode, and it's also really sad at the same time. So it shows Bran, he's still in the past, like in the visions, and he goes back to Winterfell when Hodor could actually talk, and it shows that Hodor actually gets mind controlled by someone, and like I think it's Mira from the present. I'm not sure how it works. I hope they explain it in the future, but in the present, Mira's telling Hodor, hold the door. And then in the past, Hodor, he's like spasming and he's saying, hold the door. And at that point, I realized that's what he's been saying this whole time, because I didn't really know what Hodor meant, and that's all he said. But now I realize he was saying hold the door the whole time, but it just slurred into one word. So it went from hold the door into Hodor. And at the same time, Hodor is like struggling to hold the door against the White Walkers, and they basically grab him. It doesn't show him dying, but yeah, Hodor is pretty much dead, and that I'm actually more upset about Hodor than I was about any other character death, because I really liked Hodor. And I know this is Game of Thrones where any character can die at any given moment, but I felt really sad about Hodor, especially when we found out that he was his mind was messed with, and then he became simple basically because of some dark magic. I don't know if it was Mira or whatever, but he basically knew that he would have to eventually hold the door and sacrifice himself to save Bran. So it was really a sad moment. Rip Hodor. And yeah, that was basically the episode. Mira and Bran escape, but since Hodor is dead, the army is still going to be after them. So it'll be cool to see who's going to save them now, because like I said, Mira can't fight an entire army by herself and protect Bran. So I don't know what's going to happen in the next episode. So that'll be cool to see. That's my recap of last night's episode of Game of Thrones. So if you saw the episode, what was your favorite moment, and how do you feel about Hodor's death, and especially the fact that you find out that he's known he was gonna do this the whole time, especially since the past, right? And yeah, what was your favorite moment? So whatever you thought, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you see here, like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.